Baby, got it. Got me in a cop. Speaking the past and I was drunk. See like big at the door. Just one step, another step. Anyway. We're gonna talk about Denis Douglin, Mama's boy. 17-3 with 10 KOs. You can associate him with Jermell Charlo of the Brothers Charlo. And in fact, I forgot if it was Jermell or Jamal Charlo of the Brothers Charlo. Whatever the case may be, I'll find that out and put that in the description box. So, I'm T-Street Controversies. It's T-Street Controversy Live and I cover boxing. This weekend, November the 22nd, 2014, George St. Groves, 20-2 with 15 KOs. He's been knocked out twice by Cobra Froch. Is taking on Denis Douglin on the undercard of Tony Bellew versus Nathan Cleverly, or Nathan Cleverly versus Tony Bellew, too. So, once again, please subscribe, and we're going to talk. Listen, I'm familiar with the UK boxing scene. I'm familiar with George Groves. I started watching him when he fought Glenn Johnson. That's when I first seen him, like televised. I believe it was on ESPN. So, long story short, I've followed him, and I've even watched his older fights. I've watched his fight with Paul Smith, and Paul Smith just went on to almost beat Arthur Abraham and maybe fight Arthur Abraham in a rematch. So, for the IBF 168-pound title, I watched the fight with him and James DeGale, a fight that could have went either way, but in my opinion, Groves won. So, moving on, he was in two big fights. One, November last year, just so happened the guy gets to fight on the anniversary. Basically, he's fought on the day Pacquiao fought twice. So last year when Pacquiao fought Brandon Rios, he fought Carl Froch then, and then now he's fighting when Pacquiao's fighting Algeria. Long story short, he had two big fights, but the second fight with Carl Froch basically solidified the first knockout. So meaning basically, okay, you can't beat Carl Froch. You're going to keep knocking you out. Especially the fact that when you get knocked out, you get like a dance move like named after you. Like people just fall backwards and just start doing frozen. So long story short, he was in my opinion, the biggest boxing event of 2014. Wembley Stadium. Okay, so what? There wasn't a full 80,000 in there, whatever the case may be, but 70,000+ people. Over there, if I'm correct, on Sky Sports Boxoffice, over 900,000 pay-per-view buys. But yet, if I'm correct, it was more than Pacquiao and Mayweather when it comes to their pay-per-view over there. But I gotta further research that. But if not, it's pretty close. But yet, we talk about pay-per-view buys over here in the United States, but then those major numbers get overlooked. So me, I covered every single aspect of the fight that I could as an American being in the United States. I'm talking about the shows live, like every bit of news, predictions and such to weigh in, all the way up to the fight, and even a Google Hangout. So long story short, I predicted Groves was going to lose. But in my post-fight video, I slaughtered Groves. Because he was talking all that shit, whinging and complaining, just, well, yeah, when you're going to do Carl, and, like I was getting your Carl. What's that game y'all got, Knock Ginger? He looked like the type of dude that deserved that shit, he just seemed, he seemed annoying, Long story short, I'm a fan, but he has some issues with the second half of the fight. Conditioning. Even when you go back to James DeGale, when you look at the first Carl Froch fight and then the second one, and then when you look at Christopher Rebrasse, which was his last fight, he has some issues with stamina. Right now he's the WBC Silver Champion, so that makes him the #1 contender for Anthony Dirrell's 168-pound title. That's basically out there for Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. We don't know what's going on with Andre Ward. So there's some big fights out there. Maybe even think about this: a George Groves Golovkin. If Golovkin, I'm not talking about now, but in the future. But it's all about what George Groves does now. Now, will he be a 168-pound champion? You have to ask yourself right now: can he beat Anthony Dirrell? Because we know Carl Froch is not going to fight him again. And I don't know. Wait a minute. I don't know. I don't know about Arthur Abraham. I don't know. I'm sorry for that little awkward pause. I don't know. But I'm guessing that Andre Ward is still going to be the WBA champion. George Groves can't beat him, just my opinion. George Groves can't beat Carl Froch, who is right now got to be the recognized WBA champion, and he's got the IBF. You know, so I don't really know. It's a confusing situation. I'm not gonna sit here, you know, and just start brain wrestling myself. You know, I look at it like this: he's got to show major improvement in his Denis Douglin fight. I saw one fight against Denis Douglin, with Denis Douglin, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really know too much about him. It's going to be one of them situations when I cover the weigh-in of this fight, I'm going to actually cram and try to watch 3-4 fights of his. But long story short, what I'm hearing is he's a character, and he comes out with his mom. And it's like, I'm not saying like a clown or anything. I'm saying like, you know, they're selling themselves basically. So we got to see if this fight goes the distance, and Douglin's been knocked out before. Then how is George Groves going to look? And then what's next for him? Now he is the mandatory for Anthony Dirrell, but right now, as it stands right now, like I said, I don't see him beating him. That's just my opinion. I'm T Street Controversy with RealCombatMedia.com. Cover every single major fight live, and it is fight week for a majority of major fights. So when it comes to Manny Pacquiao, Chris Algieri, you're going to see me on here. When it comes to Vasyl Lomachenko versus Piriapimpano, if I'm correct, I'm going to be covering that. Zhao Zhiming over whoever he's, you know, Jesse Vargas versus Antonio DeMarco, Tony Bellew, Nathan Cleverly, Nathan Cleverly, Tony Bellew, George Groves, Denis Douglin, James DeGale, Mark Antonio Parabon, Anthony Joshua, Michael Sprott, and I'm probably missing some. I'm covering them. It's time to put my foot down. T Street Controversy Live.